My name is Richard Clarke. I'm Director of Child Soldiers International. We were founded about 16 years ago as a coalition of major humanitarian human rights organisations. And we were brought together because the world had recognised that there was a real problem with child soldiers that wasn't being addressed. So these organisations came together in our coalition to try and help create an international legal framework to stop it. And we were instrumental in the negotiation of a treaty called the Optional Protocol, which took forward the law as set out by the Convention on the Rights of the Child. It's been in force now for 12 years, and over 150 countries are now party to it. That's good. But what we need now is for countries to do more than that. You know, international commitments are one thing. They have to instrumentalise them, operationalise them in their laws, policies and practices. Not just domestically, not just in terms of criminalising those behaviours and that abuse domestically, and ensuring that their armed forces and their practices are put in place to prevent recruitment of children. They have to do more. In terms of their foreign assistance policies, for instance, they need to mainstream the prevention of recruitment and use of children. There are lots of policies that are relevant to that: security sector reform, stability assistance, military assistance, support for conflict resolution. Unless you put children and the prevention of recruitment of children at the heart of those, you're merely managing problems, resolving short-term problems, but not putting obstacles in place for future recruitment. Because much of this is cyclical. If you look at a place like the DRC, often the same children have been recruited and re-recruited over time. Often the same families have been targeted by the recruiters to be recruited. Unless external assistance policies take account of that and work with us and with the UN to put in barriers to stop future recruitment, the problem will keep coming back. And we will keep spending money to deal with a problem we could have dealt with once and for all. We'll be able to apply it to a number of our programs. I'll give you a couple of examples just so you can understand where we try to make a difference. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, a country where in many ways the problems led to our creation. We were created after the first Congolese Civil War. We've noticed over all the time we've been working in the Congo that girls are almost absent from the recovery programs that happen at the end of each phase in conflict. Whenever there's a ceasefire, whenever an armed group puts its weapons down, children are recovered and released and put into integration programs to put them back into society. We've noticed over time that there are fewer girls coming out of those groups and armed forces than boys, even though we know the proportions of girls that go in. So what's happening? Girls are staying in those armed forces and those armed groups as military wives. They're also withholding themselves, staying hidden, because of fear of the shame and stigma that attaches to their role in conflict. So as a result, you're having programs that bring some benefits, some short-term benefits, to former boy soldiers. But former girl soldiers are getting left behind. And not enough has been done to understand their needs, to understand why they do that, and to find pathways back to a role in society, a role in their communities, and reunification with their families and communities. What we're doing now, and what we'll be using the Body Shop money for, is to fund a project that seeks over the course of 2 years to identify what's happening with these girls, who are now women in many cases. So we'll be working with the local communities, with local women's groups, with people who've got a long track record of making a positive difference in situations of armed conflict in the DRC. And we were building up a picture We'll be building up an understanding, and we hope developing some core principles of appropriate assistance for these girls and women. Then we'll go to the government. The government have set up a unit specifically to deal with this issue. We'll be going to them, we'll be going to the international community, we'll be going to other NGO partners, and we work with all of them very closely, presenting our findings, presenting our tools, and getting them to implement them. And thereby changing the lives of these girls and women, changing the lives of those who have already been through the trauma that they have, trying to bring them back into a role in society where they feel valued and where they can express themselves, and where their children, because often they bring children out of the bush with them, can have a chance at a responsible and respectable life in society. But also putting in place means whereby future generations of girls and women can be protected from this abuse. I think it's a sense of validation. I mean, we're a small organisation working on issues that are sometimes under people's radar. Not everyone knows about the work that we do. Not everyone knows about the issue of child soldiers. Or if they do, they tend to see it through the prism of major campaigns to deal with people such as Joseph Kony. That's all well and good, but the abuse of children in conflict is going on in more than 20 countries around the world. It's not about one person, it's not about one campaign, and we work globally to try and assist children in these countries, but we work globally to assist children in countries where there may not be a conflict at the moment, but for the lack of laws, policies and practices, they are at risk of being drawn into a future conflict. And there is a correlation between conflict and the use of children. In modern conflict, children almost always are present and used, both in conflict but also used and abused sexually as well. And the support we're getting from the Body Shop it means so much to us. It's symbolic of a recognition that we are playing a role, that people see that actually in a world that is often shrouded from view, those of us who are trying to bring about a definitive end to a long-term problem and doing it practically, not merely sloganeering or advocating, but actually coming up with practical measures that make a difference. It really means a lot to us that the Body Shop Foundation is with us and supporting us. Keep on doing what you're doing. I mean, it is a difficult environment for the not-for-profit sector to work in these days. We're still feeling the effects of the recession. We're still looking for sources of support and validation and inspiration. And in its 25 years, the Body Shop Foundation has provided all three: support, validation, inspiration. And we need more Body Shop Foundations. So we want you to carry on doing what you're doing, because without you, the world would be a lesser place, but the environment we work in would be a more difficult place. We struggle as it is to do the job we do, and without the Body Shop Foundation, I simply don't know how, and organisations like it, I simply don't know how we will continue to exist. So we want you there, we want you supporting us, and we want you to continue to support the wide range of organisations. It's not a selfish thing about thank you for the money and we're very grateful. We see all the good work that the Body Shop Foundation does and all the thousands of organisations you've supported. And you keep us alive and you keep us inspired and you keep us feeling that it's worth making the effort to carry on.